it's crazy, but it's
You're watching Channel Z, the world's leading zombie apocalypse channel, broadcasting live from Studio Z.
Makes me act the way I do.
Hello, we're bringing you a very special segment of Undead Live today, the Bunker Debate. We are bringing you the latest opinions and conversations on the zombie apocalypse, and we're streaming live to all streamers or all survivors lucky enough to have access to the internet still. We encourage you to participate, comment, and tell us your opinions on what all is going on, since this is very relevant information for all of you. So for 2 very long years, we've struggled to survive the undead and protect our brains, but recently scientists have managed to find a cure. Unfortunately, there aren't very many resources left out there, so they're looking for more groups to support their efforts in curing all these zombies. Today we're having some very special guests who are petitioning to have their groups receive the last dose of the zombie cure so that they can potentially manufacture more or cure what people they can. Today, I'd like to bring on the Captain Johnson with the Army in the military encampment to the west. Captain Johnson?
It's a pleasure to be here. I want to graciously accept the call to action. Hi.
Awesome. All right. And we also have the leader Ava Russ from the Resistance Outpost in the Northeast.
Hi, I'm so honored to have been chosen to save humanity, as our group kind of embodies empathy and compassion. So yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. So this is a very sensitive topic, since there's only a 2% rate of successfully restoring the individual to their former selves with this cure. So with preliminary interviews, we have some conflicting views on what should be done with this research. Ms. Russ insists that it should be distributed and manufactured immediately because we can save people right now. But on the other hand, Captain Johnson believes that we should proceed with more caution and that more research needs to be done so we can eliminate the risks. So after they speak their pieces and give their opening and then final statements, we encourage you, the viewers, to voice your opinions online, and if you can write us any letters or anything, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Let's dive into this debate. So,
Yeah, I'll be the first to start us off. This research should go to the military because we have the resources and the manpower to handle it. We also have the personnel that are specifically trained to research, and we have the ability to collect more resources if needed. This is going to be a dangerous operation. It needs to be taken with safety and the utmost precaution before we proceed. And it's just, with it being a 1 in 50 chance, basically, of converting zombified people back into normal men, it's just too much risky and too high of a safety concern to try to distribute it immediately. More research needs to be done.
No, I'm sorry. We have to distribute the cure now, Johnson. We can't let people wander around trapped in their own bodies with absolutely no control. We have to try to get what we can to help people in the present. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it's 1 in 50 or like 1 in 100. It's still better than doing nothing and letting people suffer.
Don't forget, folks, it does have the potential to save lives, but it could possibly make the situation worse. So what do you think, Captain?
Exactly. The situation could become much worse because we still don't know what other risks could come with having this cure. Could it allow the thing to mutate or what? We just don't know.
And what about those who are infected and dying now, huh? We can't just sit around and wait for more doses.
We have to be responsible with the cure. We have to have responsibility to the current people and the future people. We need to make it safe for everybody now and in the future.
You both have valid points. I mean, it's clear that proceeding with caution is not remiss, but I mean, I don't think that your compassion is misplaced either, Ms. Russ. There have been some rather troubling rumors, though, that maybe the source of the outbreak was the military in the first place, though.
I'm appalled by the accusation. That's just mere speculation and rumors, conspiracy theories merely made up by desperate individuals trying to find confusing answers in confusing times.
Captain Johnson, you're just trying to cover up the fact that the military caused the outbreak in the first place.
I am not. That is blatantly false.
Okay. That that is inconclusive as of yet, viewers. So let's see, what research is the military going to be proceeding with? What resources do you have to provide?
We got plenty of medical personnel that are highly trained, specialized in many different fields of medical practice, and we've had them since before even the outbreak occurred. And it was there's medical personnel. We have a logistics team also to help us with logistically exporting the cure when it is ready, which I doubt that you have the infrastructure for.
No, okay. You know what your problem is? You're too cautious. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but we're in an apocalypse and we don't have time for caution. People are dying out there, and the knowledge to make the cure is right there in our hands. So we owe it to everybody else we've lost in the past 2 years, because everybody deserves a chance to live, not just your military cronies.
Well, further research is needed because this is exactly what.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to talk again. Tell me this. Why don't you or the military explicitly refute all the rumors about you guys creating the outbreak? Was it so all your dying soldiers could keep fighting on the field? Or wait, was it that your higher up saw Captain America one time and decided they want to recreate it? Huh? What is it?
The way you resort to rumor and spreading lies is just beyond me. You're just, at best, you're a naive leader, and at worst, you are a post-apocalyptic lying politician.
Things are getting a little bit heated here, guys. So why don't you take a moment to go grab some water or something, cool off a little bit. We'll resume our debate after we bring on one of our correspondents from the field who can maybe give us a little more insight into the situation. I'd like to bring on Marcos, who's been doing some great work out in the field, talking to people who haven't yet been zombified, or perhaps they have. Marcos, why don't you tell us a little bit about your work?
All right. So first of all, thank you for having me on. My work has been, extensively out in the field, interviewing those who have yet to be zombified, people who don't really know that there are zombies yet. Somehow people are still living in ignorance.
Amazing.
So that's what I was saying. And I think you'll see from the clips that we play that people have a lot of different opinions and a lot of insight that we can gain from listening to, the voice of the people.
All right.
Do you think you can be zombified by love?
I think you can be. And I think it's one of those feelings that's very overwhelming and very intimate. And I think for many people, that's a goal in life. And because it's a goal, it's also socially acceptable. And if anything, desired, that people are consumed by it. And so I think that it is something like, they also made Tinder addictive. It's swiping motions. Mm-hmm. You either get the, oh, you matched, or like, they're going to match with you, that type of thing. And so I think even the media that we have right now is like meant to zombify people. And I think in romantic relationships, because that's the goal, people are hoping that they can be all consumed in it too.
Interesting. I like that take. So then do you think that, just generally speaking, being zombified is a good thing or a bad thing? Or can it be both? Or can it be neither?
I think that it's not ideal to have. Do I think it's wrong or like malicious to be zombified? I don't think so. I think it's an opportunity to be aware of what causes those. And not only that, but I think it allows us the opportunity to connect with ourselves and ask ourselves, why are we not fully present in this moment? I also come from a background where I think mindfulness is really important, and just being available and just open to experience. And I think for myself, I prefer not to be zombified. I prefer to be present, taste all the flavors of my food, see the flowers and the colors. But at the same time, like, if I'm finding myself zombified, I think I need to question and ask why I'm not present, and what am I not getting from this moment that I could be. So maybe in the car, maybe I'm not present because I'm in my thoughts, and maybe turn on a podcast and be more present. And that would be more ideal. And I think it's more interesting to listen to a podcast than my own thoughts.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much for answering our questions.
All right. I believe we have a few more clips of the interviews. Is the next one similar to the previous one?
It's a little bit different,
A little
but
bit different?
yeah,
All
you'll
right.
see. Do you think that people can be zombified?
Zombified, like dead but alive?
Yes, sure, you can think of it like that. Or zombified in the sense that you sort of go into autopilot, or you're sort of in like a trance state.
You're hijacked.
Obviously, you can define zombification however you want.
Mm.
If you only want to limit it to being, resurrected and like half alive, half dead.
Sure. By that definition, like dead and then like animated in some way, I'd say no. But like maybe mental zombification could totally be.
Right. All right. So, do you think that you've ever been zombified like that? Can you think of an
Oh,
instance?
interesting. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Really.
Maybe not to quite that level. I mean, I've certainly had instances where I'm on autopilot, just going through the motions, or like feeling like a zombie, right? Like totally exhausted.
Yes,
like
yes, yes.
even this morning, I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna get through this day?
So then, do you think that maybe you're zombified more by biological influences, or do you think you're influenced by social influences, or nothing at all?
I don't know. I guess I've had some pretty rough bouts with the flu, where I was like bedridden and I felt like close to death, but I was like alive. And maybe that would
Really?
be
Okay.
more biological. But no, I would think it's more like mental combined with like external stressors of like culture, politics, all of that.
So do you
stuff.
think, for example, let's say that you're really, really involved with your political party or your ideology, and you sort of let it take over? Do
Oh,
you think that
interesting.
people like that are zombified by their politics or their
Interesting.
politics?
Like this mob mentality, sort of
Mhm.
like.
Like almost a cult.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, I would not call that zombification.
Okay. So then, do you think that, what would you call that then?
I think there's zombification to me is like this absence of life, of like consciousness, I think in some way.
Of agency?
Yes, but not all loss of agency is zombification.
Okay.
Like
Interesting.
zombification includes loss of agency,
Right.
but loss of agency due to like cult status
Mhm.
I would not put as
It's not
zombification.
zombification.
Yeah.
What would you define as zombification then? Just a quick definition.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
need to be too in depth.
Yeah, so I don't know, just like maybe living entirely without free will or autonomy.
Very interesting. I think very relevant to our topic for today. And I believe you said there's one more clip today, right?
It should be.
There should be? All right. Let's see that one up.
Lieutenant, you are my best intelligence officer. I want you to find out how classified documents were leaked and how the hell Miss Ava Roos acquired that information. That is an order from the top. Now get it done.
Right. I think we may have gotten the wrong clip, but that may be all the time we have for this segment, unfortunately.
All right.
It was wonderful to have you on, though, and very good to see the human aspect in this undead world. Very interesting, too, that you mentioned that some people aren't aware of what's going on, actually. But as of now, I'd like to bring on our hopefully a little bit cooler debatees or debaters and resume our debate.
All right.
Thank you
well,
for being on,
Thank you for having me.
of course. All right, Captain Johnson and Miss Roos. So just to start off, I know we've had some questions from the audience about this, but let's begin with your side, Captain Johnson. Are there any plans of releasing this cure, and what kind of infrastructure do we maybe have in place, or do you plan to have in place to do this sort of thing?
Well, of course, we need a safe way to capture these zombified individuals if we're going to inject them with the cure. So we need to set up the safe infrastructure for our men to be able to do that. Not only that, we have to figure out how to transport the cure from our research location. And then we have to figure out also how to manufacture this at a larger scale.
Okay, yeah, that seems fairly reasonable. Is there going to be a way to safely distribute this? I mean, the individuals who've been zombified seem like they're fairly dangerous right now, right?
Indeed. And it's not only just the risk of actually capturing the zombified individual, there's also the potential risk of future virus mutation, creating new types of zombification. There's also potential for creating carriers of the virus that have the potential to infect others while still looking human. And then, there's also just the risks involved in just overall experimentation and acquiring the resources for this.
I see. Yeah, that does seem like a pretty big issue. Something to tackle, certainly.
I will say we can't risk the virus spreading any further than it already has. With it mutating and potentially creating carriers, this is going to be becoming stronger and is going to decimate our society even worse than it already has. I mean, imagine the current virus already wiped out most of humanity. What could the next version do?
We can work around that. We'll make.
Well, what, Miss Roos? I know this might be hard for somebody as optimistic as you, but you need to understand that your individual interests are not above the interest of everybody else. You might want to release the cure for a publicity boost, but that is not the safe and reasonable thing to do right now. And I know your mask might be slipping right now, but
As we discussed earlier, everyone here needs to be civil. Play nice. This is a news broadcast, please. So we haven't actually been able to hear from you in a little while, Ms. Roos.
Thank you. Listen to me, Captain. It's been 2 years since this began. 2 years, guys. And we should work with what we have, because saving a couple people is better than saving none. And so what if it mutates later? We can save some people now and then do more research later. And so what if the people have hope? What else is there to have now? You want me to start telling my people about the depressing reality we all live in as if they don't know? Because, yeah, I'm sure I'll just tell them really sad stories because that'll boost their morale.
If you really wanted to boost morale, I'm sure a less top-heavy distribution of resources would help with that.
Wow. Okay, I just told you both to calm down a little bit. It seems like you're both very heated, very passionate about this topic, but we do still need to be civil. All right? Okay. So we will have another short break before we return for our final closing statements. Okay. So since we're taking another break, we'll take some questions and comments from the audience now to kind of gauge reactions to what's been going on. I know it's a very heated issue, and people have a lot of opinions about it. I know that one question that we actually got before during one of the little spats that we had was what kind of resources and where the money is going to come from for this sort of thing. And I think that's a great question, actually, especially considering how much our infrastructure is deteriorated over the time. Yeah, here it is, where Athena's asked, is there funding for this research? And I think that personally, if I'm giving my opinions as your host, I think the military is probably in a fairly good position to procure those funds or have them already. But I do think that Ms. Roos has some very good points with making sure that the human aspect of these human people is well accounted for. So I think it's good to consider both sides of the issue, where it's not just a matter of the logistics, but also of making sure that humanity stays human moving forward. Do we have any other questions or comments? Will the zombies be able to consent to being volunteers for the cure? Oh, that's a sticky situation there. Since they're zombified, probably not. So this does go back into some of the rather troubling medical history that America does have with experimenting on people who haven't consented. This may be one of the topics moving forward as we get back into this debate. And is the cure 100% effective? As mentioned very briefly before, unfortunately, it is not. It has a 2% chance of working, and I believe that if it doesn't, there are no side effects for the individual. But as Captain Johnson mentioned, there may be some risks of the virus mutating or adapting to the cure that we have, which is, I believe, why he's been championing caution as much as he has. So hopefully our guests have had enough time to cool down a little bit more, and we won't devolve into more attacks as we have. And I'd like to bring them back on to present their final closing statements, hopefully, before everyone is able to vote on the stream and give their opinions to decide who does finally get the cure. I'd like to bring on Captain Johnson and Ava Roos once more. So this will be the final segment, and I'd like to get closing arguments from both of you guys. I know we've started with Captain Johnson in the previous section, so let's start with you, Ms. Roos.
Well, my role is pretty simple. As the leader of the human resistance, it's my job to ensure the safety and well-being of all of humanity. So what could be more important than a cure?
Why do you keep forgetting the risks involved with this cure? Make the virus deadlier. The cure doesn't have a high, safe success rate. Like, is it really worth it to use it now?
Yes, it is. What do we have to lose? Another apocalypse? I don't know if you've noticed, but we're already in the worst case scenario. We've already hit Plan Z. So plus, if we do this, then we can show everybody there's still hope, okay? They can look at my group and realize that there are still people who care. We can show them that people are still fighting for them.
So you're just trying to show off for your settlement, establish power.
Okay, you want to take the moral high ground? So what you're just doing, though, it's trying to keep the cure for yourself and your little military guys, because you don't care about the people. So stop pretending. Because if you really cared, you'd be letting people save their family, their children, their brothers and sisters and mothers. You really are harmless and only care when it's your soldiers, huh, Army Man?
Okay. Once again, you guys are getting a little bit heated. So please try to remain civil. Moving on from this, let's get your closing statements.
Like I said, military has the capability. We have the medical staff that has the talent to continue this research. It's well known, but before the outbreak, they were some of the best in the industry. It was always state of the art, and we have the resources.
Yeah, I do recall there were some, I believe they were advertisements shortly before the collapse of things, where there was some advertisement about how they were basically decreasing the death rates for people in the military, and it was sort of one of the incentives to try and join up.
Indeed.
You know what? I remember that too. Because doesn't that sound like a coincidence? Because it doesn't to me, honestly. I also remember the U.S. government telling me that nothing's wrong and it's all fine and it's no big deal. But I think these two situations have to be linked, because why not use the advanced tech they had to prevent an apocalypse instead of causing one? Tell me, please, enlighten me. What do you have to tell me about that?
Well, it's before my time. I was not a part of the research program of that. I have no idea what individual projects were going. I don't know how the shit works.
Wow.
I am just a leader. I am not a medical professional.
Then why is captain in front of your name?
Military leader.
Not a good one, clearly. Look at where the world is now.
Oh,
Jesus.
all right. Well, I'm getting some information from the studio here. And unfortunately, it sounds like there has maybe been a breach of the compound. So I'd like for our guests to not panic, please, but please exit safely and securely. So I believe that's all the time we have for our broadcast. Please, anyone who still cares to listen or might be tuning in, give your comments and let us know who you think should get the cure. I'll be reading through if I manage to get out of here, and we'll act accordingly. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe, all of you.
And if the whole world says that we're crazy,